so happy we alive.
This is where it has a great superiority over the opiates. Okay. Also, for the treatment of the migraine, that it really works to both create relaxation too. And there are many mixed cases of tension and migraine headaches, and the tension headaches are very favorably affected because of this relief of spasm. Mentally, it really gives relief from obsessive thinking, which is the genesis of the tension headaches. But again, I favor these other behavioral interventions as well as the electromyograph monitoring and training with the tension headaches, as well as regular therapeutic massage. These have no side effects except maybe falling in love with the therapist. But it, at the same time, provides a training for the patient to be increasingly aware of comparative muscle tensions. So this would reinforce the biofeedback. The cannabis facilitates awareness of these physiologic state changes because of its multi-physiologic state impacts.
Let me interrupt again for a second. It seems so peculiar here, talking with you, listening to you, in a very relaxed way, talking about a clientele with whom you obviously have a strong rapport.
Yeah, they know I'll be there for them in court, and I have.
Well, I'm sure that you do a lot of good for a lot of individuals. At the same time, in quite a different context now. It seems like almost every day back in Kentuckiana, on the evening news, the local news, there's a report of someone's house being broken into and someone being arrested for 1 or 2 ounces of marijuana, and it's reported in the I would say all of the local news stations, WHAS, WAVE, WDRB, the Fox News, all of them report this information as if it is a horrible crime that has been committed, and that a devious person is now under the control of the police. And
extraordinary popular delusions and madness of crowds back in the cave. I don't really enjoy sounding chauvinistic, but that would never happen in the Bay Area. And this kind of demonization and night riding vigilantes that are part of this thin blue line coven of the model of justice, this wouldn't happen.
Well, it's on national TV every week. There's shows about
cops. Right,
yeah, police
showing you the problem. This is a drug abuse.
It's like the gladiators and
continuing extraordinary popular delusion and madness of crowds. It's right out of 1984, of the 2 minutes of hate that were demanded by Big Brother. Except here in contemporary America, Big Brother is the competing mercantile interests and with incompetence. Let's hope that Barry McCaffrey's exposure as the Joseph Goebbels behind the American drug propaganda machine leads to a backlash in critical thinking amongst our intelligent populace. Just because our populace is ignorant doesn't mean a lot of them aren't really smart and possess this power of critical thinking. But when they're treated like the mushroom farmer model of information dissemination of keep them in the dark and feed them a lot of shit, then what do you expect?
Tell me, what do you have to say to millions of mothers, of children who have been taught to be scared to death, frightened out of their mind that their child is going to smoke marijuana and then just become a total failure? I mean, what the fear that
this is the most poisonous thing, the fear. That's the most dangerous part.
It's rampant.
Well, this is what happens when you're ignorant. It's once upon a time they believed tomatoes were poisonous. And this is the same kind of mass delusional idea that is very poisonous. It's the same sort of thing as sex education. Well, you tell them about don't do this and don't do that, and bad things, etc., will happen, blah, blah. Well, this may be true, but on the other hand, if they discover you've been lying to them, then that ends your credibility, and you might as well, you can say anything you want. And it's the same thing for the drugs, except it's even more difficult because here you have the tube. We have advertisements telling you to take this or that potion. And if mother and daddy are also smoking nicotine and poisoning themselves and doing dumb things with alcohol, then what is this going to do to their message? This whole thing is a propaganda campaign. This send them a signal idea is like, what kind of lie should we tell them do you think they'll buy? And everybody is realizing that it's a sham. And it comes right down to the language of drugs. I loved it when there was it was Bill Bradley at a senior citizen center in New York in a poor part of town, asking the audience, how many of you people are on drugs? And there was this stunned silence. There were a couple blocks from a big crack dealing center. And so it took them a while to figure out they meant drugs for our medical conditions of old age. But this context, it's almost like we have the drug king, there might be a drug store, drug barons, drug czars, we have all these ranks of royalty and with these complex meanings. And so if you came from another planet and wanted to find out, third rock types of situations of drug, what do you mean drug? And then what kind of drug education do you have? And then again, this example of what is drug education? This business about external and internal controls and learning how to combat these messages of the control lies beyond you and lies in these magic potions, as compared with what other things could you have not done to have avoided this kind of problem. And having a physical education extended into this internal self-control exercise that is a lot from yoga. But it's a logical extension of the physical education that we supposedly revere, and unfortunately we debase by mercantilizing it. And this is what I fear with the internet going into the schools, with all the advertisements going on it as, quote, free.
Yeah, right.
There is no free lunch, and this should be part of the critical thinking unit.
Well, let me ask you this. Since you brought up politics and politicians, I have no idea what political party you might be affiliated with, or what your. But that's not what I want to ask you. What I want to ask you first is as you look out over the political landscape, do you have any comments on individuals that you may find inspiring, or individuals